I feel bad. You know, as a parent, it's my duty to work and provide for my children and feed them.
Once the fishing stopped because the boats were not allowed to go to the sea, it became difficult for everyone.
Fishing is one of the biggest industries in Rakhine State. But fishing boats have not been allowed out since December in the Ngapali area because of conflict elsewhere in the state. That's left both locals and migrant fishermen in dire straits. Hello and welcome to Doh Athan, a weekly podcast about human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by a Doh Athan freelance journalist. Names and voices may have been changed to protect contributors. Ngapali Beach in Rakhine State is one of the most famous tourist spots in Myanmar. 7 kilometres of soft white sand, with beautiful sunsets and palm trees swaying in the breeze. 43-year-old Ko Htet Naing is here with his wife and 5 children. But they didn't come on holiday. They're from Gwa, south of Ngapali, on the border with Ayeyarwady region. Ko Htet Naing fishes closer to home in the rainy season, but he's been migrating to Ngapali for seasonal fishing work since he was 15. But since the upsurge of fighting in Rakhine State last year, the military regime has imposed strict restrictions on travel, both by land and water. And in December, the junta banned fishing along the coast of Ngapali in Thandwe Township. This has left Ko Htet Naing unable to return home and without an income to support his family. They can only afford less than half the rice they used to depend on.
We don't have anything to eat since this ban. We can't get by just selling snails and crabs. We usually have to cook 1 pea of rice for both breakfast and dinner for the family, but now we can only use 4 cups. We keep worrying about what we'll eat for our next meal. Sometimes we can't even have 2 meals.
He's not alone in this predicament. This is a way of life for many people from northern Rakhine and even further afield. Seasonal fishermen would come to the Ngapali area for about 6 months every year. And because it's a lengthy period, they would often bring their families. Locals say there are about 2,000 people currently stranded in the Jaektor fishing zone of Ngapali, living under tents in coconut groves. In the whole of Thandwe Township, there are apparently as many as 20,000 people in this situation. In previous years, a good week's fishing could earn these seasonal migrants between 80,000 to 100,000 kyat a week. And their wives could also work in fish drying or salting or processing, so their livelihoods were stable. But now neither partner can work. Mimi A and her family are from Jaekpyu. She and her fisherman husband and their 3 children are also stranded in Ngapali. She told us about the struggles they're facing.
It's been 5 months since I had any work. There are times when we only have 1 cup of rice. I use it to feed my children, and I end up just drinking the rice water. I have to go to places 9 or 10 miles away just to beg for some rice. And sometimes I hike up the hills to gather wood to earn some money.
In January, locals say that a woman who came to work at Jaektor fishing zone went begging for rice in Thandwe town, but collapsed due to hunger. Apparently she had a newborn baby with her, and no one in the family had eaten for a long time. Meanwhile, restrictions on land and water travel routes in Rakhine are so tight that nobody dares to try and get home. Flights are the only way in or out for the affluent, and between Sittwe and Yangon, these are reported to be sold out until April. Local residents have tried to help the stranded outsiders. Initially, they assumed that the fishing ban would be lifted quickly, so they organised a number of Satu Di Tha events. These are like pop-up food banks. But not everyone was able to get into these events, according to Ko Htet Naing.
During events like Satu Di Tha, some of us couldn't attend and get the free meals because there weren't enough tickets. There were so many people, so my kids would cry whenever that happened.
The locals then made a list of the poorest families, and they donate rice and food supplies to them. But these don't stretch to everyone, and the locals themselves are also suffering in the current situation. Ngapali is normally a popular tourist destination, but now there are barely any tourists. Tour operator Gonai Win says hotel occupancy rates are down from 80% to 10%.
Petrol and jet fuel prices have soared. Food prices are more expensive and tourists don't visit or rarely visit. Hotels haven't shut down, but they have laid off staff and they operate on a skeleton staff. There are only 1 or 2 tourists in every hotel.
Many other locals are suffering from the fishing ban and the travel restrictions. Doh Athan runs a beetle shop. He said many locals made a living on the sidelines of the fishing industry.
All of us in this region depend on the fishing business. I have a home shop where I sell betel nuts. Once the fishing stopped because the boats were not allowed to go to the sea, it became difficult for everyone. That includes people like myself who earn income with a business on land.
Local residents say the situation can't go on like this much longer. Doh Athan worries that if the stranded fishermen and their families don't get access to food soon, there may be unrest or stealing.
This is not good at all. Even though there's no war here yet, we are going through what others in war zones are dealing with. I'm afraid that if the tough times carry on, people might turn to stealing and robbing. They'll ask those who have resources, and if they can't ask, they might start thinking about robbing them or doing something even worse.
Fisherman Ko Htet Naing has admitted that with a family to feed and no way to earn enough income, the possibility of stealing food has crossed his mind.
I feel bad. You know, as a parent, it's my duty to work and provide for my children and feed them. I barely get 1 piece of rice, even when I try day and night. It would be good if people could help us. I'd like to request donations to help the starving people.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Doh Athan. We'd welcome your feedback on social media. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fondation Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcast via the Doh Athan Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes and Spotify. You can also listen every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. and Sunday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. on Voice of America Radio. Please tune in again next week.